Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Some fascinating news coming out of this Nebraska program early Monday morning. Dana Holgorsen not only joining this Nebraska coaching staff in the back half of 2024, he's going to be calling plays this weekend against USC. Now, we kind of assumed with Dana Holgorsen coming in, we were all really excited. We kind of hoped he'd be the offensive coordinator in 2025, but we didn't really think that he'd have that much of his hand within this Nebraska offense in the rest of 2024. That's not going to be the case. He's going to call the plays this Saturday against USC. This is a really unique situation. Quite frankly, I can't remember a time that an outsider of the program has come in mid-season and started calling the plays. Normally, when you see coordinators get let go or relieved of their duties, it's somebody who's already been within the program for that season taking over. That's not going to be the case for Nebraska. Couple of really interesting comments that Matt Rhule made during the press conference when he shared this news with the media. I think most importantly, he wants to simplify this Nebraska offense, which is, something that Coach Satterfield took a lot of heat for during his time calling the plays at South Carolina. Just having too complex of an offense, trying to do a little bit too much, not letting the players go out and play. That seems to be the primary focus with Dana Holgorsen coming in. He took a long look at this offense, kind of identified the things Nebraska does well. And hey, that's what we're going to do the rest of the season, which I think can help with a young quarterback. And you kind of look at Dylan in the month of October, it seemed like the game was going a little bit fast. I think the second thing that was really intriguing was Dana Holgorsen is known for that air raid philosophy, obviously the Mike Leach coaching tree. Matt Rhule was talking about running the football. And I think something really interesting to note is, Dana Holgorsen kind of air raid tree as an offensive mind and play caller. You go back to his time at West Virginia, that West Virginia team ran the football. I mean, multiple years they had 1,000-yard rushers during his time at West Virginia. So there's going to be an emphasis on running the football. And I think that's something Matt Rhule has talked about consistently in the 2024 year. And quite frankly, something Nebraska has not done a good job of in the 2024 year. Want to get into, I think, a couple of different things. One, what to expect with Nebraska and how this offense is going to look Saturday against USC. Talk about the impact that this thing can have, or this move can have, on quarterback Dylan Raiola. Now, before we get into it, as always, for the Nebraska fans, I've read Twitter. I've read the message boards. It seems like a lot of Nebraska fans, they're fired up about this. I think there's good reason to be fired up about it. I kind of want to know the expectations that y'all have for this Nebraska offense going on the road against USC this Saturday. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys. Without further ado, let's get into this. And again, I think from my perspective, the most exciting aspect of Dana coming into this Nebraska program, having a heavy hand in the offense, is what he can do in terms of development at the quarterback spot. You look at Nebraska and say if Nebraska reaches their ceiling over the next couple of years, it is going to be in the hands of Dylan and what he can be as a quarterback over the next couple of years. You look at the track record of Dana Holgorsen working with quarterbacks. You go back to Will Greer at West Virginia. Go back to Graham Harrell at Texas Tech, or Case Keenum at Houston, Brandon Whedon at Oklahoma State. A ton of quarterbacks that you look and say, they're at the top of the leaderboards in terms of career passing yards during their time under Dana Holgorsen. I think the most exciting aspect is, look, this dude knows how to develop quarterbacks. And if he can do that with Dylan, we all know how talented he is, and we all know what he can be with the right development. So I think that's number one, what excites me the most. I think number two, and something that I think is really important to note, Matt Rhule having an emphasis on, hey, let's get some coaches in the building who have been head coaches and kind of know how to run a program. Matt Rhule noted it's a lonely job when you are the lone head coach in the building. And you look at Nebraska staff and say there's no other coach that's been the leader of a program. Dana Holgorsen has at two different spots, West Virginia and Houston, and quite frankly has had success at both schools. And so I think Matt Rhule having another really good football mind that has been running a program and has done really just a solid job running programs in the past, I think that certainly helps Matt Rhule as a football coach. And then finally, the emphasis on the simplification of the offense. That seems to be the biggest deal that Nebraska is looking for. You go with Coach Satterfield, you go back to his time at South Carolina. The knock on Coach Satterfield, the reason that a lot of people think he didn't have a ton of success at South Carolina was he was trying to do too much. And there's kind of that line to toe where you want to be a complex offense and you want to give different looks and you want to do different things and you want to confuse defenses, but you also don't want to confuse yourself and confuse the players on your offense. And I think Coach Satterfield at times hasn't balanced that all that well, trying to do a little bit too much and just not letting your playmakers go out and make plays. It seems like the emphasis for Dana Holgorsen coming in and taking over this offense is, hey, what do we do well? That's what we're going to do. And I give Matt Rhule a lot of credit for it. It's kind of a weird offensive coordinator hire. Matt Rhule talks about running the football. Dana Holgorsen, obviously an air raid guy. What Matt Rhule said in terms of, hey, I just want to score points. Like, I don't care how we're scoring points. We got to start putting points up on the scoreboard. If we can do that with the defense we have, we're going to be a hard team to beat. And so maybe getting a little bit of I don't know if you'd say outside his comfort zone, but going to an offense that maybe he didn't envision Nebraska having when he got there, I think could be good. Like at the end of the day, you see so many head coaches that are so freaking stubborn and want to do it their way, and just kind of fail to make adjustments and fail to realize, hey, maybe I'm not the smartest in the room every single time. I think Matt Rhule is always one thing I totally respect about Matt Rhule is he never approaches it like that. He's always looking to innovate. He's always looking to how to get that edge and how to make his programs better. I think this is an example of him saying, hey, maybe we got to change some things up and maybe my offensive philosophy needs to take a little bit of a change. And going and bringing Dana Holgorsen in to come in and kind of fix this offense and run this offense, kind of an example of that. Now, I think the one concern, the big question mark you have is Dana Holgorsen has been in the Nebraska building for 10 days? Not even. I think it was about a week, right? I think they announced he was joining this Nebraska staff early last week. So he has about 10 to 15 days to understand this Nebraska offense and get on the same page with Dylan and the rest of this Nebraska offense and go out, call plays, and execute on Saturday. That's the one concern that you might have. But look, Dana Holgorsen has been around so much football and so many different systems and programs. If there's a guy that you kind of trust to come in and pick up this offense and know how to run it, it's probably Dana Holgorsen. He's been around a lot of football during his coaching career, a lot of different stops, worked with a lot of different quarterbacks. We'll see how this goes. Again, I don't think you're going to see a significant change in terms of the concept and scheme of this Nebraska offense, but you're probably going to see Nebraska just stick to what they do well. And sometimes when you just simplify things, it can make it easier, especially for a young quarterback, to go out and just go play some football. So we'll see how this works out. I think it makes a really intriguing storyline for Nebraska in the back half of 2024. We'll sign out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later.